Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce myself. I am Mita Anggraeni from A2 2018 English Education Study Program. As you can see on the screen, our topic today is student learning motivation during the pandemic in the learning process from home. Okay, this is research by Liza Izatunisa, Ade Suryanda, Anissa Setia Khalifah, Cynthia Loka, Peralihan Pertiwi, Priscilla Cindy, and Salwa Anggraeni. Okay, this study examines student learning motivation during pandemic in the learning process from home. In the learning process, motivation is needed, of course. Okay, I divided my presentation into three parts. There are background of the research, a research method, result, and discussion. My presentation will take about 5 to 10 minutes. In this part of my presentation, I like to talk about background of the research. The spread of the COVID-19 virus, which is very fast in Indonesia and in the world, is very worrying and has an impact on all sectors of life. The quality of education is highly challenged in the midst of this virus. Minister of Education and Culture appealed that all educational institutions do not carry out the teaching and learning process directly or face-to-face, but must be done indirectly or long distance. In an effort to achieve changes in behavior requires motivation. Motivation can arise from the outside or extrinsic, or from within the individual or intrinsic. Both of these factors are very important and continuous in increasing motivation in learning. With the motivation, students will learn harder, resilient, diligent, and have full concentration in the learning process. Motivation encouragement in learning is one of the things that needs to be generated in learning effort in school. Next, student capacity for online learning. Online learning requires advanced learning skill and motivational strategies. Motivation can be from inside or outside, and usually both are needed. Students also need life management skill, how they manage their own days, balance school distance and free time, and learn to maintain their own welfare. Next, student self-management in learning. Many students are exhausted and their motivation decreases during long-distance learning. Even students who feel their learning goes well experience problems with learning management. Next, teaching technology capabilities. Teacher technology experience in the online learning environment is also one of the challenges that determine the smooth learning activities. The teacher capacity in using technology is very important because technical challenges in distance learning have a negative influence on student motivation and learning. Next is student constraint. The most significant obstacle faced by students while studying at home is the lack of internet access and electronic device, because not all students have the learning facilities, especially for families whose parents experience economic difficulties, loss of jobs, and areas that are still difficult to reach for internet access. This brings us to my next point is research method. The method used in this study is a qualitative research method. Data collection techniques using qualitative research method are carried out by way of literature study that examine the theories of relevant to research problem. The data obtained are read, analyzed, processed, and conclude to produce conclusion. Let's now turn to result and discussion. Based on research results from journals related to learning motivation during pandemic, the study described a high school in Finland during pandemic COVID-19 showed the main finding that long-distance teaching has been carried out very successfully. However, students complained about heavy workload, fatigue, and some students lost motivation. From the result of the analysis of main white new data questionnaire from 344 high school or vocational students can be seen that student learning motivation decreases during online learning. After examining this point, let's turn to description of discussing the decreased learning motivation during pandemic. High school in Finland showed that the distance learning applied in the pandemic COVID-19 period runs well and as expected. Only as time goes by the motivation of some students experience a setback. Because the period of time is long enough and the facility of some students who are not always adequate or support in carrying out long distance learning are the reason why some students have difficulty interpreting the material being studied. Meanwhile, a high school in Indonesia, as many as 344 respondents from 21 provinces in Indonesia, totaling 92 respondents of male students and 252 female students respond. More than 50% of students experience a decrease in learning motivation with distance learning method. According to students, the atmosphere of classroom and homes is one of the reasons why the motivation they have decreased. Furthermore, 61% of the cause of decreased learning motivation are reasonable because it is not easy for a student to find the right time to review or restudy the subject matter that has been taught. The family environment that is sometimes not contributing is an obstacle to adjusting learning time for students. Indeed, it should be in this pandemic COVID-19 period, the family environment must nuance to support each other and strengthen each other. Well, this brings me to the end of my presentation. Just to summarize the main point of my talk during pandemic COVID-19, students attend distance learning in a very difficult situation and often without the tangible teaching or support from their teacher. Then students complain of heavy workload, fatigue, and some students lose motivation. Technology problem in distance learning also affect student learning motivation. The ability of teacher to use technology related to learning media carried out during the learning process. Learning method in learning media in PJJ can stimulate student learning interest and motivation. Thus, it can be concluded that student learning motivation during pandemic in the learning process from home has decreased. That's the end of my presentation. I'm sorry if I have several mistakes. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.